Hello, YouTube. Last night I watched a movie that I watched when I was around 15 or 16 in high school. I can't remember which class I took, but for some reason I was in the mood to watch a movie when the teacher mentioned that we were going to watch a movie in class, and luckily I did. It was called What Dreams May Come. And when I watched this movie, although I watched it again last night, I thought that I picked up a lot from my first viewing. I did. I picked up a lot of important things that stayed with me for many years, but watching it last night definitely opened up my mind even more, luckily. But at such a young age, to be provided that information or that thought or that concept of purgatory and what the afterlife might actually be, they did such a good job in not trying to make it about the visuals in a non-believable sense. They really went subtle, and they tried, in my opinion, to make it reasonable and rational and believable and enjoyable in compared to watching something that's more fantasy related. It was a very fantasy strong concept movie, but at the same time, there's never a part of it where you don't understand or able to relate perhaps with the general concept, especially because I grew up in as a Roman Catholic, or in general with Western theology belief systems. It's very easy for me to watch a movie like that and see or really quite easily comprehend the general message. So the movie starts off with the main character, who happens to be a doctor, and this woman that comes by his way while he's in Switzerland. And it's a very picturesque, lush landscape. They're in the mountains, and he looks kind of angelic, the way they tried to make his character look at a young age, and very how do I say it, healthy looking and happy and independent, because they kind of display him as an artist almost, because he's doing a picnic by himself in the mountains, and he's got a little sketch pad with him, and he's just kind of enjoying the sunny, beautiful, crisp day. And then all of a sudden, actually, that is related, but he actually is on a boat when he first meets her. He's relaxing, meditating almost, lying down in his red canoe-like boat. And she bumps into him from his meditation, which is kind of interesting. And she's like this neurotic, happy, full of laughter woman that they've really tried to make her look like a natural beauty, and maybe a young 20 to 25 age with long, dark hair and a huge smile and a constant laughter. And they really tried to make you focus on the fact of her long, youthful, beautiful hair and her huge laugh and smile, because they're trying to really show you later on in the movie the character growth and the transition that she goes through. And the reason I think that's important is because I don't believe that the main character, Robin Williams, actually exists in the movie. He does, but he's not important. Not as important as one might think anyways, considering he's the main character. So he meets her again. So they meet on the boat. She asks for directions to get to a place in Switzerland. He kind of gives them to her in a very gentle and somewhat giving off perceptivity. Actually, he's kind of flirting with her, so he's giving a perceptive response, which she picks up on, and she's also giving it back to him, because they have a simple form of attraction developing right from the beginning. So she happens to find him. They don't tell you how long after, but let's say a few days even, because he is a little bit surprised to see her again, and they really kind of bring that up halfway through the conversation, because he's like, how did you find me? Because she actually mentions beforehand that she brought sandwiches from the place that she went to for him. He's like, how did you know you'd see me again? And she just starts laughing hysterically, but not in a weird way, just like a a long laughter after he brings that up. And I think it's to bring up the fact that everything was just so easy for them. They both were both in a very important spot that people have to be in sometimes to reach that kind of connection. Both people have to want the relationship, have to be ready for the relationship, not have a significant amount of baggage, let's say, or at least have healed that baggage. They're just both at that perfect point where they're able to love one another without any inhibitions, which is what a lot of people should try to actually bring into their relationship or wait to find from somebody. They should actually find that kind of person that is at that perfect moment where they're not resisting and that they seem to actually want that with you. But yeah, so they are at the top of the hill and they're at the picnic and she joins him, and from then on it goes into the transition of a wedding scene. So it's just basically this blur of reason for these two people to want to be together. Their lives join perfectly. He's a very healthy man and very thoughtful and loving, and she's also very receptive and caring and happy and full of joy. They have children together as the story develops after the marriage. And basically, the weird thing is, though, when they go from the wedding, when they're still angelic looking and still happy, she actually trips while walking down the aisle and they just completely laugh together. Like it's just this constant flow of anything goes, no judgment. They get each other and they love everything about one another. And then they get into the next scene where they have children that are between 10 to 20 years old. She has shorter hair. Just their reactions in general are much colder. Like the father is so severe on his children. He wants them to succeed. He wants them to be what humans are meant to be, part of the rat race. He shows disappointment. He shows pressure. He shows unnecessary parenting. And little does he know, he's going to have a limited amount of time with his children. His children are going to die. And if he were able to stop himself for a moment and realize that there is a possibility that he could lose his children, maybe every little while he might actually dedicate some proper amount of time to not make them feel like he's their government or a dictator or anything less than what he was to his wife when he first met her. He has the capacity, it's been demonstrated early in the movie, that he has the capacity to be extremely loving and easygoing and artistic and careless. And they bring up a bigger part later in the movie when the son and him are talking about the academic progress and natural abilities of his son. His son says he's not him. And his son isn't going to necessarily be as successful traditionally as his father. And it's unfortunate that his father has enough academic abilities, but not enough emotional intelligence to realize that he is gifted, but he also loved different parts of his life, like that poet or that artist in him. Just because he was naturally capable of managing everything doesn't mean that everybody will be always naturally able to manage everything. And that means that, like, as an emotionally intelligent parent, you should be able to sometimes sit back for a second and understand that there's flexibility to success in life. And you might very well lose the people. Like, that's the whole premise of the movie. You might lose the people you love. And it might drown you in a purgatoric state afterwards of depression or Velcro, of bad thought on your mind of all the things that you did wrong, or all of the ways that you led your life improperly, and an insensitive kind of sentiment that can lead you to feel like you've buried yourself in bad thought, or that you regret a lot of things that you're not able to let go of, even through meditation. I was actually speaking to one of my friends yesterday and explaining that, like, most things that you do, you should realize very well that in the future, if you're going to dwell on those mistakes that you did, that you should have a due diligence to really go through the whole analysis of it's called psycho-cybernetics. So basically, you should use your imagination as heavily as you can in order to go through the possible scenarios so that you're not in the blame game in the future where you're saying, oh, it was because of this person or this situation, this is why I failed, or it's because of this and this. You should have a collection of rational possibilities of your awareness so you can actually digest them and let them actually settle by themselves in the giving an indication of the direction that things might lead to. Like if I lend money to a family member, I might very well lose that money or lose my relationship with that family member due to the fact that I didn't think enough about the possible scenarios that that might result with due to the fact that they have money problems and that's why they're coming to me. So what's to make me think that they're going to take it seriously this time? Or what's to make me think that that a bank not willing to give them the money that they need doesn't have a reason to refuse them? So you can give help to people, but if you don't go through all the possible scenarios and then afterwards you're hurt and you never actually took time to consider with your imagination possible scenarios to be able to accept them pre-action, then you're going to put yourself in purgatory, like a purgatory, over and over again in your life. And that's what this story is basically trying to tell you. It says, do not lead your life, especially when you become mature and a little more aware as a human, if you get lucky enough to live old enough to become wise enough, don't let yourself keep on going down the path that you'll have a purgatory hell to follow you. If you're not able to meditate, if you're not able to relax your mind and then you're going back to previous mistakes you've done, or that you're like Eckhart Tolle would say when he's mad at himself a long time ago when he had his enlightenment, he was angry at himself and all he said, I can't live with myself. And all of a sudden it dawned on him. He said, what did I just say? He said, I can't live with myself? There's two of me? And I'm judging myself? I'm actually finding fault in myself and talking poorly to myself? So these things can lead you to a hell if you don't focus on the capacity and natural ability and vice of the human mind when it comes to everything that you seem to be very fond of in your identity. Your identity is not as important as you might think it is. However, it is part of your consciousness. And if you really try to imagine, I can't live with myself, meaning that your identity is part of your soul to the part that it's going to always scar you, then you're going to be lost in the most purgatoric hell you could ever have imagined. And that's the premise of this movie, and that's where it leads to. And I'll go to part 2 in the future. But just to give you that general concept of why that movie is so deep, I wanted to get these points as quickly as possible so I can expand on them in the future. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.